These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country, but he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Thomas Paine wrote these stirring words in December 1776, during the darkest hours of the Revolutionary War, to rally the Patriot Army under George Washington. The independence declared only 5 months before was in jeopardy. A massive British army with Hessian mercenaries landed that summer and drove the Americans back through New Jersey to the Delaware River. The army dwindled as American enlistments ended, and the men melted away to their farms. Washington had few supplies and money for his men. The realization of the Declaration and its principles required the preservation of the Continental Army and victory. After the Americans fled across the Delaware, the British retired to winter quarters and left a garrison of Hessians in Trenton to guard against an attack. Thousands of enlistments would end on January 1st. If he hesitated, all would be lost. Washington faced a moment of decision: launch a bold attack or watch his army crumble and the cause of liberty fail. He would cross the Delaware and attack on Christmas night. As evening descended, a fierce nor'easter raged, deluging the men with rain, hail, and snow. The temperatures plummeted. The winds howled across the barren landscape. Washington deployed his army into 3 groups to cross the turbulent river. Only one made it across. The intrepid sailors of John Glover's Marblehead unit deftly ferried men, horses, and artillery without losing a soul. They landed 10 miles north of Trenton and prepared to force march through the driving storm to surprise the enemy. 2 columns of men set off for Trenton, some marching with only bloody rags on their frozen feet. 2 men dropped dead of exposure. Finally, they descended upon the town from the north and south as the winter sun rose that morning. The invading army swarmed into town, and their first shots shocked Hessians roused from their sleep. They grabbed their weapons and fought back against the Americans. 100 Hessians fell, but they almost turned the tide. That is, until Henry Knox and a young Alexander Hamilton thwarted the attack with whiffs of grape shot from their cannons. Shortly, 900 Hessians were captured and taken prisoner, though hundreds escaped to warn the British. Washington said, "This is a glorious day for our country," and slipped his army back across the Delaware with the victory they so desperately needed. With enlistments expiring within days, the general wished to strike again, especially with word that British General Cornwallis was marching in their direction with 8,000 men. Washington marched his army back across the frozen river and took positions in Trenton. They waited. On December 31st, Washington addressed his men, offering them a $10 bounty to remain and fight one last time. Few soldiers stepped forward to accept. The general looked them over and dramatically made one last patriotic appeal. "My brave fellows, you have done all I asked you to do, and more than can be reasonably expected. But your country is at stake, your wives, your houses, and all that you hold dear. You have worn yourselves out with fatigues and hardships, but we know not how to spare you. If you will consent to stay only a month longer, you will render that service to the cause of liberty and to your country." Cornwallis arrived late on January 2nd, and his redcoats skirmished with the Americans. He was not in any rush and said, "We've got the old fox safe now. We'll go over and bag him in the morning." That evening, the Americans lit roaring campfires and made a racket. But it was all a ruse to allow most of the patriots to slip away quietly in the darkness. They marched 10 miles that night through snow and ice and encountered the British garrison at Princeton. The resulting battle went back and forth as the British formed up and counterattacked. Washington rode to the front to rally his men. With bullets whizzing by, he shouted, "Parade with us! There is but a handful of enemy, and we will have them directly." The Americans drove the British back to the college, and Hamilton's artillery blasted away at the broken British lines. But Cornwallis realized he had been duped and was moving toward Princeton. Washington safely withdrew his army with another great victory at hand. The battles of Trenton and Princeton demonstrated American resolve during the most difficult days of the American Revolution. Washington's audacious leadership and his men's perseverance under adversity bolstered the patriotic cause of liberty. The Army won great victories that winter and eventually the Revolutionary War to create the American Republic deeply rooted in the principles of the Declaration of Independence.